Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for logging in. All right, let me see. All right. Welcome to Authentic Expressions. So, again, today's topic is, do you feel responsible for everyone's emotions? So, I want to thank Laurel Ridge for sponsoring this program. Laurel Ridge is a behavioral health program that offers compassionate care for every stage of life. It provides personalized treatment for all populations. Their interest is to help you into your journey to wellness. Their services for children, adolescents, adult military dependents, and active duty service members. So they offer inpatient services, outpatient services, substance abuse services, and residential treatment. Feel free to call 210-491-3591. Okay, welcome. Thanks for joining in. So today's topic is, do you feel responsible for everyone's emotions? And just a FYI, I am doing this live stream from Singapore. I'm currently in Singapore, and then we'll go to Malaysia to see my family. So thanks for logging in. All right. I see some questions. So Jeff, welcome again. If you share your feelings with another person and hurt their feelings, no matter how you approach it, how are you not responsible for their feelings? Great question. It's an issue that lots of people struggle with. So, when you share your feelings, are you also sharing it from an I perspective rather than you did not do this, you did that wrongly? So, in sharing your feelings, learn to claim it and use the I response. I felt disappointed. I struggled with. I really like it when, and I feel this. So when you share it from an I perspective, it becomes more digestible for other people, and it's not as a personal. So in sharing your feelings, when it comes from an I place, it feels more um, about what you're requesting rather than it comes across as an attack. So many times when it comes across as an attack or a blame, people put their shield up. So it's important to think about it from those terms. Always use a I. It really helps me, and I really appreciate it. So I felt disappointed. I felt small when that happened. So come from the I place. All right, I see lots of familiar names. Welcome, Zach, Cheryl, Carolyn, okay, Bridget, okay, Haley, welcome, Victoria. Wow, familiar names. Thank you. Carolyn goes, well, thanks, Carolyn, for the greetings. Rachel, welcome. Santos. All right, be sure to post your question. And the topic is, do you feel responsible for everyone's emotions? So, what questions might you have? So, I'm going to share a quote by Lincoln while you're typing out your question. A person will be just about as happy as they make their minds up to be. So, a person can be just about as happy as they make their minds up to be. Quote by Lincoln. Hi, EK, welcome. So, what questions do you have specific to, do you feel responsible for everyone's emotions? So, would love to hear your questions. Good evening to you all. It is 9 o'clock Singapore time. So, all right, let's hear your questions. I would love to answer questions as to how you might feel responsible or not responsible for everybody's emotions. So Benjamin Franklin says, whatever is begun in anger usually ends up in shame. Hi, Lindsay. Welcome. All right. Carolyn has a question. Knowing I am not responsible for someone's emotions or behaviors, How do I communicate that to them? Awesome. What an awesome question. So, in working with others' emotions, so sometimes when they share, they're looking to be heard, to be understood. So many times we think we have to respond. But if we give them the gift of listening, give them the gift of understanding, give them the gift of compassion, that may be all they need. So don't take on the emotions that does not belong to you. They may always have this blame, shame, guilting um, mindset where they want you to take the ball and run with it and do something about it. But remain solid in your response. Remain solid and grounded in your thoughts. Realize that when people share, it doesn't mean that you are responsible. It just means that they shared. So stay grounded. Don't let your old habit drive you to solve their problem. And you may be trained as a child, as an adolescent, to be responsible for other people and their feelings. It may be something that is familiar in your own background. But remember, as you mature, as you grow in yourself and in this field, it is, it is not yours to take on other people's emotions. So when you hear, yeah, struggles, be present to listen. You don't have to be present to just take on and absorb everything. So also when the attack shows up, when the blame shows up, learn to walk away, learn to take time out, learn to take pauses and say, we can talk at a time when you are calmer. So not everything has to be solved to listen to immediately. Say, you need time to calm down. You need time to take a break. So don't make it about um, paralyzing yourself, immobilizing yourself. So you do have options to walk away when things are heavy and it becomes too escalated for healthy conversations. All right, good to see you, Haley. Thanks for the greetings. Cheryl asks, after setting a boundary, the other person gets defensive. Yes, that is common. And people have a tendency to use guilt because they have used it in the past and it worked. So people will do things repeatedly because they find out that it works. And when it pokes your buttons or your guilt button, it's like you're having this big bullseye that you're wearing. And when it lands on you, they know that, guilt works repeatedly. So it's important for you to work from a place of um, objectivity, clarity, transparency, rather than constantly hanging out with layers and layers of guilt. So if you find that you are burdened and oppressed by guilt, look at what drives you. Don't just victimize yourself and go, I feel guilty. You can change your tune. You don't have to play the broken record. Just because people play their broken record, you can change your tune and use other emotions to work with people. Use courage, use bravery, use self respect. So these are the emotions that are seldom taught because we are taught a lot of negative, unhealthy emotions. So learn to set boundaries, learn to walk away. When they get defensive, understand that it's about their wound. It does not have to be about you. So don't, again, even in solving your problem, embrace more guilt because that's only putting another layer of oppression or limitation on yourself. So Gidget says, how can I express my feelings clearly without taking ownership of the other people's emotions? Great. How can I express my feelings clearly without taking ownership of other people's emotions? Again, whenever you express yourself, if this is new to you, I always suggest that you write it down, because writing it down will help you sort out your points. Then it's clear, it's to the point, and then you have just 2 or 3 points to work with. Whenever you share your emotions, learn to share it short, sweet, to the point. Don't do paragraphs upon paragraphs of what you did wrong, what they did wrong, because people cannot digest information. Because when you do a lot of explanation, it's a big bait to get people to engage. And then the next thing you know, you're down a very deep, dark rabbit trail that goes nowhere. So organize your thoughts. Always, always organize your thoughts. Whenever you have something new, something heavy, something uncomfortable to share, organize your thoughts, put it in bullet point. Learn to only share 2 points, 3 points, the most. Because if you give them a whole list of what they have done wrong, what's wrong with the relationship, it's overwhelming. Then after the third point, people tune it off and then they start to do the attack business. So learn to be objective, learn to take responsibility, learn to share one thing at a time, if possible. And then thank the person. If it goes well, thank them for listening. Even if it don't goes well, reset, regroup, and go back and try again. And try it with a different energy. Try it and write it with clarity. Use a lot of I statements. Okay, take ownership for it. And then Carolyn says, take time out. Time out is great. Yes. Time out is about for you, is not about for the other person. Yes. Time out is healthy. Yes. All right. So what other questions do you have about emotions? All right. Well, I'm waiting for your question. The emotions, this is by Nicholas Sparks. It says, the emotions that can break your heart is sometimes the very one that heals it. So I would like to digest that. So I hope that you think about that. The emotions that break your heart is sometimes the very one that can heal it. All right, Rachel, how do you help a child who is struggling to understand that they are not responsible for their peers' emotions? This is an awesome question because most children, most teenagers, most adults struggle with that. They think that they are responsible for everybody else's emotions. Again, as a parent, remind your children that, people share. It doesn't mean that they have to act. And you also have to model behaviors that are healthy. If you too take on people's emotions and take on, you know, bailing people out, helping everyone out, then your children will see it. Children will see it, and then they emulate the behaviors of the adults that they are around. So it is important for you too to change your behavior, because then it helps the child learn to change theirs. Because their change may be slow, but then eventually they realize that, when I saw my mother, my aunt, my teacher, my whoever, the caregiver do this, then it models for them what to do. When you model walking away, then too they can use that same skill, because when they see that, then it registers in their mind that they too can do it. And then you can also train children, because they deal with certain emotions, guilt. If you see them repeatedly fall into, being guilted by friends, then talk about it, read books about it, share how you struggled with it and how you dealt with it. So then they have a reference point. Then they have a tool set to work with. Because children, they need examples to work with, because it helps them. But if you just talk and you don't do your changes, then they have a hard time with it as well. All right. Thanks, Rachel. That's a great question. All right. What other questions might you all have? I see all these familiar names. I would love to hear your question. All right. I am going to read one more quote while you pose your questions. So, Brene Brown says, we cannot selectively numb emotions. When we numb the painful emotions, we also numb the positive emotions. So emotions have to be expressed. It is for us to express, not for us to sit on it and bury it. Emotions are healthy. It's the display of it, how you display it, that impacts relationships. Santos asks, how should I address my teenage son's attitude towards me? The product of false narrative conveyed by relatives close to him. Wow, that's a good question. Very good question. And very challenging in that, your son is being influenced by external factors. So, in that situation, it is important for you then to model the behavior that you want to consistently help him understand that, if you are a person who is kind, who is forgiving, who is respectful, model those. Don't get into a tug of war because the relatives are saying that because they want to get a good fight going, or they want to get a good um, argument in on the way, so that they can prove that they are right and you are wrong. So one of the best things you can do for yourself is to not get involved in those tug of wars, those debates that go nowhere. Because if you fall into their trap, then you have, you have become one of them. So as an adult who thinks with clarity, learn to not be seduced by those traps. Learn to step back and allow people to do what they want, even though it's toxic, negative, and highly annoying. So learn to be who you are, stand firm, be grounded, because over time, your son will see that, my dad is this, he is consistently this. So it is important for you to be grounded, to remain solid in who you are and not who they think you want, who they think you should be or are. Because if you fall into their traps, then you have, lost the your fight with it. So stay firm, stay grounded, stay healthy, stay respectful to who you are. Continue to honor you and be the true self that you are capable of being. Santos, that's a great question. Thank you. All right. What other questions? I love your attendance and I also love your questions. So tell me what questions you have. Okay, I'm going to read a quote by Helen Keller. She says, the best and the most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even be touched. They must be felt with the heart, by Helen Keller. So they must be felt with the heart. So emotions have positive influence, negative influence. But remember, your positive influence, your positive emotions have significant impact. It may not have immediate impact, but it does have significant impact. That over time, people will see you for who you are. And so don't be fall in traps of wanting immediate results. Think about the long term. So whatever long-term trait you want to build, continue to be solid in those terms. All right, Lindsay Miller has, how do I address a situation where an authority type figure refuses to take ownership for their actions and then blame things they do on someone else. Yes, that's a common problem in most situations where, be it at church or at work, in the neighborhood, where they find it easier to place blame on others. So, in such situations, for you to understand it, I often think that person has a lot of wounds and it's hard for them to take ownership for their struggles. It's hard for them to take ownership for what they're, you know, to sort out their feelings, to what they're struggling with. They don't want to look bad. They want to look good. They want to protect their image. They want to protect their ego. So go in with the understanding that, they have a very bruised ego. They have a very fragile ego. And then when you work from that framework, then you can understand that, they want to blame. So learn to shift from taking blame to offering solutions, to offering ideas, to hearing them. Many times, if you get into the problem solving and then the heads are butting, that's when things escalate. So, whenever you want to solve a problem, bring in different energy, new energy, because that will help out a lot. If you go in with the energy of wanting to correct him or her, and they are very grounded in not moving, they don't want to be corrected, then if you go in with the same energy, that's when the headbutting shows up. So learn to take out that combative or that blaming attitude or that unhealthy attitude, but bring in a different attitude. And on your part, you may want to think, okay, I don't want to butt heads. I don't want to make it about right or wrong. What do I want to make it about? You may want to make it about being heard. You may want to make it about, you know, understanding the person's background, that, they are constantly defensive. So that behavior is going to show up no matter what the problem is. So learn to come from a different angle. So bring in different tool set. Don't just use the same tool set like that person. When they're rigid, and if you're rigid, that's a recipe for more rigidity. So learn to introduce new energy, whatever you want to change. And if you find that you have a hard time changing it, do not use the same energy. Use different energies to introduce it. All right, I appreciate your question. I am going to repeat the quote by Helen Keller. She says, "The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt within the heart." So learn to express not just the negative emotions or the emotions that burp. Learn to be grounded in the emotions that you want to exude so that you radiate those emotions. So be solid, be stable, be calm in the areas that you want to exhibit and exude. All right, it's our time to wrap up. So I'm going to share next week. The topic is letting go of family patterns that don't fit anymore. Letting go of family patterns that don't fit anymore. I appreciate you joining me for this live stream. And I'm going to close with Laurel Ridge's program and what they offer. So it provides personalized treatment for all populations. Their interest is to help you into your journey of wellness. So there are services for children, adolescents, adult military dependents, active duty service members, veterans, and first responders. So Laurel Ridge is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So their mission is to save lives, heal families, and create hope. Thank you so much for these great questions. And look forward to seeing you next week on our topic of letting go of family patterns that don't fit anymore. Have an awesome, awesome rest of your week. And greetings from Singapore.